You go to school for years and years and years. You study math, science, history, but nobody ever told you how these people actually figured this stuff out. No computers, no internet, no calculators, just their brains and the world around them. Today, we are going to look at 3 moments in history where ordinary humans figured out things that still run our world today. And trust me, when you hear how they did it, you will never look at a shadow or a triangle the same way again, ever. So let's start with a man who is probably the most famous mathematician in history. A man whose name you have heard 1,000 times in school, but whose real story nobody ever taught you. Born around 570 BC on the Greek island of Samos, Pythagoras was not just a mathematician. He was a philosopher, a traveler, and honestly, a little bit of a cult leader. Yes, you heard that right. He had a secret brotherhood of followers who were not allowed to eat beans. Beans! The man changed the entire world of mathematics, and he drew a hard line at beans. As a young man, Pythagoras traveled to Egypt and studied there for about 22 years. 22 years. Then he was captured during a Persian invasion and taken as a prisoner to Babylon. But instead of giving up, he kept learning. He studied mathematics from the Babylonians, who actually already knew something about right triangles. Then, around 532 BC, he escaped and settled in Croton in what is now southern Italy, where he built his famous school. Now, here is where the story gets really interesting. One day, Pythagoras was sitting in a palace hall, waiting to meet the ruler Polycrates. And he was doing what most of us do when we are bored, staring at the floor. Just regular square tiles on the floor. Nothing special, but then something clicked. He noticed that if you draw a diagonal line across a square tile, you get 2 perfect right triangles. He started studying the areas of the squares on each side of those triangles. And slowly, piece by piece, a rule started forming in his mind. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. A rule that works for every single right triangle in existence. Every single one. Now here's the twist that most people don't know. Pythagoras was probably not the first person to notice this relationship. The Babylonians knew about it over 1,000 years before him. Over 1,000 years. But what Pythagoras and his school did was something nobody had done before. They proved it. They turned a simple observation into a universal mathematical law. And that changes everything. Today, that theorem is used in architecture, navigation, engineering, physics, and even the GPS in your phone right now. All of it traced back to a man staring at floor tiles in 500 BC. Now let's talk about a man whose colleagues literally nicknamed him Beta. Not because he was bad, but because he was so brilliantly good at everything that he was never quite the single best at any one thing. A bit harsh, honestly. Born around 276 BC in Cyrene, which is now Libya, Eratosthenes grew up to become one of the most remarkable minds of the ancient world. He eventually became the chief librarian of the famous Library of Alexandria in Egypt, one of the greatest centers of knowledge ever built by human hands. And one day, while reading scrolls in that library, he came across something that most people would read and completely forget, a report from the city of Syene, which is modern-day Aswan in Egypt. It said that on the summer solstice at exactly noon, sunlight shone straight down into a deep well, and now with no shadow at all. The sun was perfectly overhead. Most people would shrug and move on. Eratosthenes stopped and thought, because in Alexandria, also in Egypt, but about 800 kilometers to the north, the sun at noon on that same day was not directly overhead. It cast a shadow at an angle of about 7.2 degrees from vertical. Why would the same sun at the same time on the same day cast different shadows two different cities? His answer is simple, ingenious, because the Earth is curved. He then did something so simple it almost seems like cheating. He used that 7.2 degree angle, which is roughly 1/50th of a full 360 degree circle, and multiplied the known distance between the two cities by 50. He calculated Earth's circumference as approximately 39,690 kilometers. The actual number today, with all our satellites and technology in NASA, 40,008 kilometers. He was off by less than 1%. A stick and a shadow in 240 BC. Just let that sink in for a moment. And now, our third story, and this one might be the most shocking of all. Around 300 BC, Roman engineers started building with a type of concrete that nobody fully understood until MIT scientists studied it in 2023. Yes, 2023. It took modern scientists with electron microscopes and X-ray imaging more than 2,000 years to figure out what Roman builders just knew by experience. Modern concrete, the stuff used in roads and buildings today, is designed to last about 50 to 100 years. Roman concrete structures built over 2,000 years ago are still standing. The Pantheon in Rome, still intact, still in use today, still holds the record for the largest unreinforced concrete dome in the entire world. So what was the secret? The Romans mixed volcanic ash from a place called Pozzuoli with lime and seawater. And when seawater seeped into that concrete over time, it reacts with the volcanic ash to create a rare mineral called aluminum tobermorite. And here is the wild part. This mineral actually made the concrete stronger over time, not weaker, stronger. Roman concrete essentially healed its own cracks when it got wet, or modern concrete cracks, and stays cracked. Roman concrete cracked and fixed itself. The Romans did not have chemistry labs. They did not have microscopes. They learned this through generations of trial and error. They observed that buildings near volcanic ash lasted longer. They kept using it. They figured it out the hard way through patience, observation, and thousands of years of knowledge passed down from builder to builder to builder. And we are only now in 2023 beginning to truly understand what they already knew. 3 different people, 3 different centuries, 3 completely different tools, but one shared secret. The most powerful instrument in human history was never a machine. It was a curious mind that simply refused to stop asking why.